Hey Beer Tubers, Ryan back with another episode of San Diego Beer Vlog. Thanks for joining me once again. Today we're going to look at a beer from the Lost Abbey. This is one of their special, in this case, brewery only releases, and this is Cuvee de Tomme. Now Cuvee de Tomme starts off is what they refer to as the mother of all beers quadruple, which is brewed with just a regular malted barley, raisins, candy sugar, and some cherries. So it sort of sounds like their Quad Judgment Day, then they added some cherries into the mix. And then it goes into some bourbon barrels for probably a year, maybe even longer, and they add in more tart cherries. They put some bread in there too, so sounds like a pretty interesting beer. We'll see if this one is carbonated. Jameson, aka Tantrum 777 on YouTube, his bottles, he said, was completely flat, so I'm not really expecting much carbonation on this one. The release for this one got pushed back a long time, and it never came out. And they were supposed to say, like when I bought the beer, Tommy Arthur said that don't drink it yet, don't put it in the fridge, it needs to carbonate more. But sounds like it didn't carbonate at all. But I know it's not supposed to be a hardly carbonated beer at all, but it'd be nice if there was some. But we'll see here. I did get a little bit of a pop, but that might have been just pouring it, taking the cork out. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of carbonation on this one. As you can see, I just did aggressive pour. You get some bubbles. I can smell it already. It does smell good. Just very faint traces of carbonation on this one. I am drinking it pretty cool since it is supposed to be slightly tart, but I'll probably will let this one warm up after initial impression. But big bourbon notes right up front. Yeah, vanilla, sweet caramel notes. A lot of sweet caramel on the nose. We go with that bourbon. It is a quad, so you get a little bit of dark fruits as well. The cherry notes are very faint in there, but you can definitely smell some tart cherries. Yeah, it's a good smelling beer. I mean, appearance-wise, it's just very murky brown. Not the greatest looking beer, that's for sure, especially without any head on there whatsoever. So I'm gonna give it a taste. Cheers. Yeah, carbonation's very low. I don't know, maybe it just didn't prime right. It's got a very thick mouthfeel. Well, it does have some complexity to it, that's for sure, even cold. Yeah, like Jameson said, I wish there was a little more carbonation on the palate. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call this a sour, and maybe it's supposed to be more tart than this, but you do get a little sour notes, but it's more like in the back end. Definitely tart cherry. It's not mouth puckering by any means, but it does have some nice tartness on the back end. So at 11%, this is a very big beer. You do get some alcohol notes in the back end. It's very faint. But it's a very viscous beer. It's very mouth coating. There's a good amount of caramel sweetness in there. There is definitely carbonation in this beer. I look around, I can see very small bubbles coming up. I mean, it's not completely flat. That being said, with a beer this big, I want a little more carbonation on the palate to kind of cleanse out some of the sweetness. Because usually when we have these kind of beers like this, they usually finish pretty dry and have a little higher carbonation to help cleanse out the palate. This one's very low, and so you get a little more of that lingering caramel sweetness, some other fruitiness in there as well. There are the tart cherries. They are in there. They do help it prevent it from going, too sweet on you. But it's a big beer. It's very lightly hopped for sure. I think with this one, maybe they should have just kept it in the barrels maybe a little longer. It seemed like they had a ton of problems with it. They kept delaying the release date of it. Certainly not a terrible beer by any means, but up around the palate, you get some of those tart cherries. Kind of gives it a very vinous red wine character, like a big time red wine, because you feel some of that 11% kind of heat in the back end. So it definitely reminds me of a lot of wine, which is probably why they're going for this type of beer, kind of to be lower carbonated, but I still think you could use some more. Midway through, pick up some caramel notes. They use some candy sugar in there, probably to boost the alcohol up. But it seems like there's some like residual sort of brown sugar notes to it. Get some other dark fruits in there along with the cherries. A little bit of plum going on as well that you typically get with some quads as well. And then the back end, you get some of those bourbon notes, vanilla, oakiness. The oakiness kind of pairs well at the beginning with the kind of vinous quality to it. Kind of makes it like a very oaky red wine. But this has much more of a wood character than most of the wines out there. I've had some wines that have pretty good oak character, but this one does have that back end vanilla woodiness going to it as well. The thing with this beer is it's because of some of that residual caramel kind of sweetness on there. It doesn't make it very drinkable without having with the very low carbonation. So it's definitely a sipper. Like this is a good beer even at this size to split with someone, because it's gonna take me a long time just to get through the rest of this because of this lingering character. So grading wise on the 2010 batch of Cuvee de Tomme, I do have a 2009 bottle. It's a big 750 milliliter. Maybe I'll get to that eventually, but I'm just gonna go with the C on this one. It's just pretty average for Lost Abbey. I mean, they do some great beers, and this one just, this 2010 edition of Cuvee just, for me, didn't live up to what this beer could be. I mean, there's definitely a good beer here. It's just lacking what it needs, especially the carbonation, just to be a really nice beer. I mean, there's some good flavors in there, but it doesn't quite work out for me. So to me, it's a pretty average beer in that respect, especially for the price. This little bottle was $15. So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for 2010 Cuvee de Tomme from the Lost Abbey. Until next time, please comment and subscribe. Cheers.